All right, and we're back with the Verified Podcast, and you already know it's Top Carter CL here, and today we have a special guest. You know, he's big into entrepreneurship, he's big into technology, and he's just doing some super innovative things when it comes to our community. And I want him to go ahead and introduce himself to you all if y'all been under a rock lately.
Hey man, Carlos, I appreciate that, man. My name is AyindeSimon. I'm the co-founder, president, and director of partnerships with Pathway Community Foundation. Someone really passionate about taking emerging technology and revitalizing our communities, also creating a pathway for entrepreneurs into emerging industries and emerging tech. I want to say thank you first, Carlos, for having me. I'm really excited to kind of talk about our work. Some of the work we do in Winston-Salem, but just the work we do in general and how we try to impact communities and impact fellows in our program. So man, thank you for having me. I'm excited to kind of delve into all the work we've been doing, especially in Winston-Salem. And man, I'm just happy to be here.
Oh man, hey, that's incredible. And the thing is, you know, Winston-Salem, you know, I just hear that it gets a super bad rap. You know, when it comes to just people coming in, they be like, or on the outside looking in, should I say, that, oh, it's a violent city, shootings, and, you know, just all kinds of fights, just burglaries, all this kind of stuff. But there's another side, you know, of Winston, you know, so that's what I'm here to kind of just showcase. And you're definitely a great example of that, you know, so I just want to start with your name, my man.
Yes, man, my name. So my name is Ayinde. It's Yoruba, which is a tribe in Ghana. It means we gave praise and he came. And it's so interesting is because I am not Yoruba. My father believed in giving his sons African names. So he was very interested in making sure we had those kinds of names growing up, even though we're not originally from Ghana or Yoruba, even though they claim me. You know, we all family, you know what I mean? Yeah. But we always make that distinction because people meet me, especially folks from Ghana or Nigeria, they'll be like, "You Nigerian?" They'll be like, "Nah, but you know, we family." They be like, "Oh, okay." Like they think because of the name. But I accept all the love from that. But yeah, that's the name. My pops was very forward thinking and making sure we had names that had meaning. Names that kept us like African centered and kind of reminded us of our history and something that was powerful. So I try to wear it and try to be that for people. Not to say I feel like I'm somebody to be praised, but I just try to make sure I'm trying to live up to the name, I guess, and trying to make sure I'm bringing some sort of impact or bringing some value to people.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. That kind of segued into the first time I met you, my man. You was in Winston. You know, I knew it as like the original Boys and Girls Club when I was younger. But it was basically a convention. You remember the name of it?
Yeah, it was, I don't remember exactly the space, but it was the Winston-Salem Foundation, who was one of our funders in Winston-Salem. They had me part of their panel for their fundraiser, which was just bringing out some of their grantees to talk about the impact that they kind of help us create. And I got to give a special shout out to the Winston-Salem Foundation, Courtney Feliz. They've just been great over there, their whole staff. I mean, I tell them all the time, if every city had a version of the Winston-Salem Foundation, like in their city, things would look drastically different in a lot of our cities. So I always applaud them just for doing phenomenal work and really believing in us. So yeah, I was a part of that panel. And one thing I say about Winston-Salem, which is beautiful, is so our org is based out of Raleigh, North Carolina, but we use Winston-Salem as our home city for the past 3 years for our flagship program, just because you all have embraced us so much. You know, like when we initially launched this program, we're working with cities across the state, even across the country. But I have to give a shout out to Councilmember Scipio in the East Ward. And also Tom Carexa, the CIO for the city of Winston-Salem. They heard about our program and just really wrapped their arms around it and said, hey, we want to bring it here. We want you to do work here, which allowed me to get introduced to people like the Winston-Salem Foundation, which is how you actually met me working on that panel. So really, you know, our ability to do work in the city is really based on the city embracing us and being like, hey, we like what you all are doing. We like the impact you have, and we're going to support that with funds, and we're just putting you all on stages to talk about your work. So, yeah, I love Winston. I'm not originally from Winston-Salem, but I feel like they've embraced me like I'm from Winston-Salem, so I appreciate that love.
Oh yeah, to me, you from Winston-Salem since I met you from there.
Right.
Yeah, but I was there at that convention, you know, with my Juicy's Corner show
Yes.
Just all my colleagues from there, you
Yeah.
know. So Sharice, CJ, we had LA Brim, I believe Sean Kell came too. So
Yeah,
so
all good
we
guys too, man. The crew I met that day, they all seem like just real good people, just wanting to, be a part of what's happening in Winston-Salem, man. So I applaud y'all.
oh
Just
yeah,
being there and
man.
showing up to things like that. You know what I mean? That's the real conversations and the real impact and how to, these things are changing. It's good for have the artists in those rooms too to kind of see what's happening. So yeah.
And you know we need more of that, you
Yeah,
know,
definitely.
in Winston,
Yes. Yes.
just to kind of turn that narrative
Yeah,
around.
exactly.
You know,
100%.
I do feel like if we did have more of those conventions and events, you know, Winston would be a lot better off.
Yeah.
You know, just like you said, even if it's just for the networking aspect of it.
Exactly.
How
Look, we met there, right? Just from that
exactly.
conversation, having artists in the room and people having impact, it creates situations like these where we can continue to amplify the great things happening in Winston-Salem, and not focus on some of the bad narratives that have been created around Winston-Salem. Because what I've seen, man, it's a beautiful place, man. I've never had any issues when I come to Winston-Salem. I drive all around, never had any problems. People are, that Southern hospitality is real.
Yeah.
So yeah, I enjoy it, man. Every time I'm in the city and in Winston-Salem doing work.
Hey, that sounds good, man. Same here too, you know. And when it comes to being at that convention, you know, we was kind of chatting and we seemed like we had a little more in common than we actually thought, you know. So tell everybody a little bit about your background when it comes to, you know, you being a videographer, photographer, and, you know, even more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was interesting because our conversation while I was there speaking about the panel, what I shared with Carlos is that I started out in the creative industry. So for about 15 years, I worked running a music label, art director, and artist management, which landed me in Los Angeles before I actually made my shift to North Carolina. So I did everything from being a filmmaker, running tours, doing brand deals, traveled the country, traveled outside the country. Really thought that was going to be the work I did for the rest of my life. And then found myself transitioning from LA, moving to North Carolina, and really having more of a focus on tech and the impact that could have. I think I'll always be an artist at heart. I feel like I'm an artist in just a new industry now. So I feel like I'm an artist in tech, not necessarily like a person just working fully in tech. And really for me, I look at it as, everything adds some element of creativity to it. When you're building a program, when you're leading people, you're starting an organization, you have to think creatively and think about how unique you can be in something that you're putting out into the world. So I try to bring that still. But yeah, worked in that field for majority of years, transitioned to tech around 2018 into the pandemic, and really wanted to focus on, really just became a fan of emerging tech. I came in through the Bitcoin angle and blockchain, really just being exposed to that and that technology and feeling like, wow, this can revolutionize the way we think about money and think about transparency. But that led me down the rabbit hole of other emerging tech, like IoT and smart cities, which kind of led me to developing the program I develop now. So just to give a little bit of a brief synopsis on that. So I run Pathway Community Foundation. Our flagship program is the HBCU Smart Cities program, which is a 4-month program for HBCU students to build a smart city application for a local community. That's how we got initially into Winston-Salem, is they were one of our first cities to support us and say, hey, we want your fellows to come and work on products for us. And through that program, we do curriculum weekly. They go to site visits to different cities. They work with city stakeholders and mentors to build their solution. And at the end, they pitch their solution for a chance to win up to $10K in cash prizes. So that program and what I've been running for the past 4 years has really become my baby. We've expanded from a few cities to now working across the state, expanded into states like South Carolina now. So, and all of that started really with Winston-Salem, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Being one of our initial pilot cities that we were able to work with. So for me, I feel like I'm creative in a new way. I'm creative in a way that's having impact on my community, having impact on people who look like me, people from areas where I'm from. And I'm just excited to kind of bring whatever I've learned in my previous life, careers, industries, to this work now, and hoping we can impact communities like Winston-Salem across the state and across the country eventually.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Thank you, man. Thank you.
Oh yeah, absolutely, man. I definitely salute you. I know it's a lot of hard work, you know, especially when you say like when it comes to like HBCUs. So what made you kind of use HBCUs as, you know, a way to go ahead and I guess catapult that creativity,
Yeah.
and kind of expound a little bit about that and how much or how important it is, for us to actually go ahead and support each other,
Yes.
and
Yes.
and also, like, where do you see things going when it comes to the technology space?
Yes, definitely. So yeah, with HBCUs, it was very important. So this program started as a focus, not just on HBCUs, but HBCU communities. So it's about using and utilizing the talent in HBCUs to help revitalize the communities around HBCUs. And for myself, it's interesting for me and my co-founder. While we didn't attend HBCUs, I was raised in what I call the HBCU community. So I had 5 HBCUs within a 100-mile radius of where I lived.
Oh, wow.
The first campus I went on was Hampton University, moving my older brother into his freshman year, back sometime in the 90s when I was a baby. The second was my first Midnight Madness was at Coppin State in Baltimore when I was 15 years old. I've been going to Howard Homecoming because I'm originally from Prince George's County. I've been going to Howard Homecoming probably before I should have been going to Howard Homecoming as a teenager, just because it's part of the community. So for us, when we thought about this program, it was about how do we impact the communities around HBCUs and then just utilize the talent at HBCUs to do that. For us, and just to think about even taking a further step back, a part of our interest started and a part of our focus started with opportunity zones. So this was part of the 2017 Jobs Act that outlined certain communities as distressed communities or prime for revitalization or economic investment. Typically in opportunity zones, you saw people do mixed use, real estate deals, things of that nature.
Right.
For us, we wanted to create a platform where we can cultivate entrepreneurship in these areas and kind of create long form economic development, not just putting up a building or putting up a real estate deal, but how can we build entrepreneurs from the community to build products for that community, and they can become entrepreneurs in their community and find investment to kind of help them move forward. Kind of a way to deal with the talent drain that you get from HBCUs, where people graduate and then they have to move somewhere else for work. We want to find ways to help cultivate entrepreneurship in their own backyard. We always say we want to take the talent in our backyard to change what our front yard looks like. So a big part of what we do is like, okay, how can we surface entrepreneurs in that go to these HBCUs in these communities, and how can they be working on solutions for those communities? And then can we help commercialize those solutions? So now we're really creating entrepreneurs in their own communities to solve problems in their own communities.
Right.
So that's really where the focus of it came from. And I mean, it's been great. We've run this, we're now into our 3rd year, our 3rd cohort. It's been phenomenal. We've had over 100 fellows come through the program in 3 years, over 500 applications from HBCU students from across the country to be in our program. Wow. We've extended that into other events like a Community Tech Day, which we did in Winston-Salem, which is why I was at the Winston-Salem Foundation's panel, because they supported us in that. So yeah, it started off as just that focus, but it's ballooned into so many different things that we're just excited to kind of keep pushing forward and really kind of showcase HBCUs as leaders in smart city development. Like, there's so much talent from these schools that I just feel like there's so much opportunity that we want to put them in front of the right people and put them in the right situations to flourish.
Definitely. And I feel like in our communities, that's what we're lacking.
Exactly.
Just that opportunity, and just the stage, to basically put that spotlight on, like I said, the other side of Winston, or just our communities.
Exactly.
Because I do feel like perception is just one of them things that, mainstream media, just has their own way of looking at things.
Exactly, yeah.
Just look at certain things and it's like, oh, there's a whole nother side of this over here too.
Exactly.
So it's like, I guess we have to actually shine that light. It's our responsibility to do that.
You sound like you've been in our meetings, man.
Hey,
You sound like you've been in our meetings. I got to give a shout out to my co-founder, Kevin Femingia, because he always talks about rewriting the narrative around HBCUs as it relates to tech. I mean, because when you look at it historically, I mean, HBCUs have created such phenomenal talent that the idea that isn't already the narrative is just crazy to me. But the idea that there's more to do, of course, we always feel like we can drive more impact, we can help more fellows and more students get in better positions. So for us, it's really about creating that narrative of, you will go to a HBCU to find that talent. You will come here to look for the best talent in the country because it exists here. We're just creating a platform where they can surface it, where you can see the solutions they create. You can see them doing things for their communities, and you can say, oh, wow, these are great students, this is great talent, and we need to be looking at these areas more to invest, to help them build their products, to help them, because I always think if what HBCUs are able to do based on the unequal funding they receive, I just imagine if there were more programs like ours who worked alongside HBCUs to kind of help them take what they're learning in textbooks and actually put it in a real world situation to help cultivate entrepreneurship, help to build entrepreneurs up in these communities. I think the impact could be massive. So for us, it's really just about how do we be that connector? How do we be, someone that can work alongside the HBCUs to help students just get the most out of their experience while they're at university. So yeah, man, that's a big part of why we do this work, man. And like I said, I'm passionate about, like I said, the communities around HBCUs as well as HBCUs and just making sure we're putting them in a proper light to succeed.
Right. Hey, and I can tell, you're very passionate about it and your energy around it.
Yeah, man. I feel like it's in me. My mother was an educator for over 40 years in DC. And one thing she always talked about was just that it takes intentionality to really change children. You have to be with them and be at their level and engage them with the things they're engaged with. So when I think about our program and what we're doing is we're trying to meet them where they are, build their skill set, but also put them in the driver's seat to show them, okay, you can do this. You got the skill set to do this. You just need a platform. You just need the opportunity. And I think we just keep doing that and kind of building that out. We'll just see more and more fellows come to our program who do phenomenal things, whether that's building solutions for Winston-Salem or working for the city of Winston-Salem or just being, value adds to their community.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. I applaud y'all, man. Y'all really streamlining, the process of just getting that spotlight where it needs to be.
Yeah,
so we need more of that. Definitely. So I know you said y'all program has been around about 3 years now, going on 3 years, or for 3 years and some change. When you say products, what products was so eye-opening for you that you saw, come through your programs? You was like, man, I was a part of this.
Man, it's so many. There's so many products, situations, even so we get a behind the scenes look at what the teams are building and the process they go through. And it's just really cool to see, like they'll start on a certain route, then they'll change their mind, they'll run an experiment, get some data, they'll go on a site visit, then they'll change their solution again. So it's beautiful to see. But there are a few products. So like for last year, we had the top winning team built a cost benefit analysis for the city of Rocky Mount. They were one of our participating cities, and what they did is Rocky Mount was looking to move from traditional water management system to advanced metering infrastructure water management system, which would give them more visibility on water usage for all citizens.
Wow.
And what our fellows did is they came in, did a cost benefit analysis of what it would take to do that and how they could transition the city to AMI. So that was one, just solution actually won first place. Another great solution last year, another one for the city of Rocky Mount. I'm gonna talk about something for Winston-Salem, but for the city of Rocky Mount was really cool was an application called Milestones. So one of the issues that Rocky Mount was dealing with was youth violence, and they wanted to find a way to get youth involved in other activities. So we had fellows made up of students from North Carolina A&T and Fayetteville State. They built an application that kind of gamified having young adults engage in mentorship. So basically what would happen is if you took part in different mentorship classes or showed up to in-person events, you would get rewarded with like discounts at your favorite restaurant.
Oh, wow.
Or a discount from a car wash, or you may get a 2-for-1 at your favorite place you go to hang out with your friends. And they were connecting really like local businesses to helping gamify youth no longer doing activities that led to violence. And that was just, and they came up with that in a 4-month time frame. So just, tons of cool things. I think one for Winston-Salem that was created in our first year was the police and fire department wanted to do a better tracking of visibility on previous instances at different like locations or different addresses. So let's say like if you're going into a fire or burning building, you want to know where the gas line is, or you want to know if you have cameras or visibility on what's happening. What our fellows built was an application that gave visibility to all different safety and police fire departments and kept track of different interactions at a residence. So for example, you may say, hey, you got a call to go into a home because of a domestic dispute. In their application, you'll be able to go and see and say, okay, this home had last time someone was here, a dog roamed free and wasn't on a leash. The last time we were here, the fence was broken and there was a break-in. And that way they can actually have that information in front of them as they make real-time decisions as they engage with a fire or a live shooting or anything like that. And it's just basically giving them more visibility on previous issues that a certain areas had. As tons I can go on. There's another one that was built for the town of Mooresville that's near the Raleigh RDU International Airport. So they deal with a lot of congestion around people coming into the city to use the airport, but they may only have, I think, 30,000 residents. So they wanted to create a predictive analytics tool that took traffic data and allowed them to change the flow of traffic based on the congestion they're receiving. And what our fellows built was a dashboard where city managers can make real-time decisions and make changes to the traffic flow. And that was made up of students from Winston-Salem, North Carolina A&T, and I think Elizabeth City. So yeah, those are just a few products, man. And I think even for this year, there's just some really cool things our fellows are working on. They're building digital twins for the city of Charlotte. They're using predictive analytics to figure out where we should put new pedestrian walkways. They're helping the city of Rocky Mount discover lead pipes for all residents so they can actually update their water management system. Winston-Salem, they're doing something really cool around tracking homelessness and using a GIS tool, which allows them to see where homeless or unhomed people are moving in the city to make sure they're getting proper services based on the area they're located. So it's just all kinds of really creative and cool things that our fellows are creating. And I think something about our program that is unique is that we go in advance and speak to cities about what are their most pressing issues. So it's not like students are coming in and just saying, hey, we want to build something for the city. It's like, no, we actually go in and help reverse engineer what cities and municipalities are dealing with. And then we help fellows build a solution for that specific issue. So it really helps drive the impact home, and it helps cities get something that they can really utilize and implement.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really big because y'all just not coming in and just being like, hey, this is what we're gonna do for you, or this is our idea of what. It's like, nah, y'all are asking them and asking them questions and seeing what they need help with.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's super intentional.
Yes.
That's incredible.
I think a big part is what we do is expand the bandwidth and capacity for cities and municipalities. So it wouldn't be good for us to come in and say, hey, we're going to just build this. We need to know, what are your most pressing issues? What are your key initiatives? How is this tied to your budget? How much money is this going to save you? Like, those are the things that you and your boss really care about. So let's make sure we're building something that speaks to that. And it's really driven, I think, the impact of our program and really helped our students get in a position to build things that could be implemented.
Yeah, because the homelessness is like running rampant.
Around
Winston. And I know it's around everywhere else too.
Exactly. Yes.
And when it comes to if I have any of my listeners or anybody who's viewing this episode just super interested in this program, what ages do y'all accept, and also how can they find you or get into the program?
Yeah, definitely. So for our program, right now we have an HBCU Smart Cities program, but we also are expanding that to potentially non-HBCUs as well. But right now you have to be an HBCU student, undergrad or graduate student. We don't care about GPA, we don't care about major. As long as you attend a HBCU and you care about the issues that are being dealt with by the cities who participate, then we will welcome you to apply to the program. There is an application process. So you have to apply, you have to go through a video submission and interview process. But we welcome all folks, if you attend a HBCU, to come in and apply to the program. If you want to learn more, you can go to pathwayoz.com. Or you can search Pathway Community Foundation on LinkedIn. On Instagram, if you add HBCU Smart City, you'll see everything as far as all our fellows, our promo videos, everything we do, we film. So if you ever kind of want to get an understanding of all the cool things we're doing, you can check us out on LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, or on our website. You'll see everything.
So is there any events that you're the most excited about that you got coming up?
Yes. We will be back in Winston-Salem, April 25th this year. We'll be at Winston-Salem State University hosting our grand finale pitch competition, 2:00, April 25th. It is open to the public. I'm definitely going to make sure Carlos puts a link somewhere on our Eventbrite so you can register. We would love to have folks locally come out from Winston-Salem and actually see these solutions up close. Of course, we got some WSSU students in the program, like we do every year. So yeah, I would love for folks to come out. If you're local, please come out and see these really cool solutions that are being built in your own backyard. I think you will be blown away by what you see some of our fellows creating for the city of Winston-Salem and cities across the state.
Nice. Hey, and as you can see, he was an entrepreneur, first at heart, a videographer, photographer, label owner. So I understand you said, blockchain and Bitcoin is what got you into, the technology side of things. So where do you see technology going?
Man, we talk about this every day just because of what's happening around AI.
Right.
It's just how it's just taking everything by storm. And we talk about that as it relates to problem solving for our fellows, making sure we're giving them like cutting edge tools, but also allowing them to do some of the work as far as building their products. I think everything is a lot of times becoming outsourced to AI, from our emails to now you can build an app in 2 seconds by using AI. So I do think we'll see more of that. I think what's going to be important for our communities is to understand the back end of how these actual products work. And that's one thing we do in our program. We try to educate the fellows on the technology and how it works on the back end. Just because I think as we engage with more technology, engage with these kind of tools, they can be very powerful. And I think if we can understand how to utilize them, how to build them so we can build our own machine learning models that are based on our scripts and our code and things that we found to be important, then I think we will see a better impact of things like AI versus always outsourcing that to third parties. I think a big piece of why we do this work around technology is we want to make sure we not just have a seat at the table, but we can create our own table if we want to. And we can only do that if if we're learning these new technologies, if we're delving into them. So for me, I really think it's just about awareness and being engaged, tinkering around a little bit, getting your hands dirty, even if you don't feel like you don't know what you're doing. When I started in tech, I really came from a community focused. I wasn't a coder, you know what I mean? I was really focused on marketing just because I did some of that in creative industry, but really community. So I would say, like, if you're interested in tech, start on where you are, you know what I mean? Don't think about, hey, I have to become a coder to get in tech, or I have to do anything like that. You can just start by being a part of a community, learning more, educating yourself, helping educate other people. Those things are all beneficial. And I think how fast tech is moving, how fast some of these products are being developed, I think everybody just needs to continue to be a student of these products and not and just continue to learn. Because I think as soon as I've learned this in working in emerging tech this past, as soon as you think you've got something down, you know what I mean, it changes. We talk about this a lot with our curriculum. I mean, we have curriculum partners who come in and 1 year is one thing and the next year it'll be totally new tools based around some things they're utilizing. So it's important that we just stay on top of that and we stay engaged in all tech, even if it seems scary at first.
Right, right. Hey, y'all heard it here first. Yeah, so that's definitely amazing as well. When it comes to the community, I do feel like when it comes to just networking and being in those rooms, rubbing elbows with people who know more than you,
Yes.
Is one of them things that we need to actually get out and do. Maybe COVID, kept everybody in for a few years, and people got complacent, but hey, COVID over now. It's time to get back outside.
Yes.
Start rubbing elbows, man, and you can't just keep making excuses. You got to go out and get it.
Definitely.
Like you said, you got to be intentional.
Definitely.
And I really hear that drive in you.
I appreciate that.
I actually want to kind of take it back to where do you feel like you got that drive?
Man, I think, so I come from a family of entrepreneurs. People who I always say, I say I'm from a family, I used to call them out the trunk entrepreneurs. These are folks who, have, vision and grit, but I always recognize that they didn't necessarily always have the frameworks on how to move, their business to the next stage. So my father worked in financial services for a long time. My oldest brother started out running a trucking business. I had another older brother who was an artist. My younger brother now, who still works in the creative industry, runs his own company and business. So it's always been entrepreneurs, but I think it really came from just seeing how hard they work to move their thing forward. So it was always built in us like you're gonna have to work hard. There's nothing's gonna be given to you. In this system, that we're born into is gonna be tough. So you better toughen up your skin. You better recognize what you're up against. Educate yourself. My father's really big on that. Like, educate yourself on what you're engaged with. Be committed. So he kind of drove that home. And then my mother the same. She was very just focused and intentional on helping people. So I think I took both of those traits where my father was very much like, okay, You're gonna have to work hard. You're gonna be intentional. You have to prepare yourself. My mother was just constantly about love and the community and like giving back and giving her life to people. And I think I just kind of took both of those things and pushed it forward in my own kind of way. But I really think it comes from that, man. My brothers are all very hard workers. My parents are very hard workers. And I think that just was instilled in me that you're gonna have to work hard, man. If you care for it, if you care about it, you better go hard at it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. Hey, that's incredible. You said your mom was a teacher.
Yeah.
Yeah. What subject did
Man,
she?
it's so funny, man. My mother taught for over 40 years in DC. She taught in one of the toughest areas. So if anyone knows the DC area, it's an area called Berry Farms. Actually, it's no longer there. They've actually tore it down. But one of the toughest areas in Southeast Washington, DC, she taught. And really, man, she taught everything. So she was a physical education teacher, but she also taught reading, writing. She worked in elementary school, but she did before school, after school, care, summer school. Like she was just constantly into like educating and caring about children. And one thing I think I picked up from her in that is just seeing that she would always talk about with her students, like certain things they need even outside of just the education. Like sometimes you got to be an aunt. Sometimes you these kids' mothers. Sometimes you these kids' best friend. And while people may feel like, oh, wow, you know, it shouldn't be that way, she recognized that that was a part of like how she had to help care for these people and these children. So I think for me, I really take that as I tell my co-founders, I tell my team, like all my businesses are family businesses, even if we're not family. Like,
Right.
when you start working for me or working with me, we family, you know what I mean? So I think I took that aspect of just caring about people, and then the education piece. She was just, both my parents were just really big on education, educating yourself about the system, but also book knowledge and making sure you're doing your work. And on top of that, so I think seeing her just care so much for people from an education mindset and really work with people who were forgotten, people that the system didn't really care about, people that were left with, you know, underfunded schools. She made it feel like a home for them. She made them feel loved, you know what I mean? So I think when I think about what we're trying to do and what I do now, it's like I try to infuse some of that in how we run in our program. But yeah, it definitely comes from her being that educator that wasn't just about book smarts, but it was about like heart smarts. Like how do we care for people even when we're trying to teach them things? So yeah, that was definitely a big influence on kind of how we think about the program. My co-founder makes fun of me because he always like, you know, I'm like not the heart of the thing, but I'm very much like, these are babies, you know, we gotta take care of them. Like we gotta, you know, we gotta engage and invest in them. And like, you know, I just get so excited about what I think Gen Z is capable of that I just feel like we gotta really invest in them as people, as souls, as human beings, as holistic individuals. Like I just think it's important that we take that view on education and anything we do. So it definitely started with my mother though, just because that was her personality and how she walked through the world.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey, that's incredible. And that's a really nice thing you said about Gen Zs because, you know, I feel like, of course, the kids are the future. And when it comes to just the direction, you know, that the kids need now, because they are, I feel like, a generation that's more courageous. Like they didn't really go through as much of, you know, what our ancestors had went through or anything like that. So everything now is just kind of like they're open to it, and they're just firing on all cylinders, you know. I also wanted you to kind of talk about how you got into the music industry, also like your roles, like the evolution of your roles, because I know that you said you kind of started off in photography and then you just kind of elevated from there, videography to even more. So can you just kind of walk us through your journey?
Yeah, for sure.
What made you leave that?
Yeah,
you know, that's big.
This is great, and I love taking. I always say like full scores. 7 years ago, I was creative, but no. So I started as an artist myself. You know,
what was your
music.
artist name?
Oh man, you want...
Hey, I had to.
Oh man,
I
you
know
put me
you
on
got
the
some stuff
spot.
on YouTube. People gonna look it up, man, and be like, "Oh, that's him." It's up to you. It's up
Oh
to you.
man, oh man, wow. I don't know if I can get around it. Threw me off with that one.
Oh, it's all good. You know, that's what we
Man,
do
so
here. You know, we
I would say
gotta get
so.
down.
I would say one of the so I did when I started out. I did start a music label. I could definitely talk about that. So the name of the music
Okay.
label is called Baby Dinosaurs and Co.
Okay.
It was an indie label based out of DC that I ran alongside my brother. And it really was like started out as like artist management. Was doing a lot of film and videography, music videos, and I always been in the business. So even though I started working in tech closer to 2018 to 2020, I always was, serial entrepreneur, working in a business and consulting. I worked in advertising for a while, so I always had a business mindset, even when I was a creative. So starting a label was kind of just like a natural progression of me wanting to kind of control all aspects of what we're doing from a creative standpoint. So yeah, I did that, artist management. I managed tours. Man, I designed clothes. Man, we did all kinds of stuff. Man, we did release parties. Like it was just a great time. Eventually moved to Los Angeles with that company. While in Los Angeles, kind of transitioned out of direct artist management and started working as an art director. So really that was work based on doing like music video concepts, press releases, press shots, any concept as it relates around an artist's visual or public image. I was a part of and kind of worked on with a few small indie labels and some major ones as well. Did that work for a number of years, started a kind of transition to another creative agency I started started along with my brother called Pink Dot Academy. Ran that until about 2018. And I think for me, I really came to a place of, I think my evolution went from, someone that was in front of the scenes and slightly moving further behind the scenes. And I think as I got further behind the scenes, I didn't always like what I saw in the creative industry. I lived in Los Angeles for about 8 years, working as an art director. And just, I think I became, I think I'm trying to find a better word than tired, but I think I became exhausted with some of the imagery that I was being contracted to create. I wasn't comfortable with it at times, and I felt like I wanted to have just a bigger impact than being a higher contractor to shoot your music video or to shoot your photography. I felt like, especially this is at the time where I was really transitioning to focusing more on emerging technologies like blockchain and Bitcoin. So it felt like, wow, this really cool thing I want to jump into, even though it's totally different from what I've been doing. It just feels like, man, this can, revolutionize things for a lot of people if we understand it. So I kind of went down that rabbit hole. And that's really how the transition happened. I really found myself feeling like, man, there's so much that could be done in this space and I could bring my creativity to this space. And I was falling a bit out of love with working as a contract creative, not creativity.
Right,
I love
right.
still creating. I love, I have a 2-year-old son. We sit around, we make songs all day around the house. I feel like we singing and dancing all day.
Yeah.
But when it became to being a contract creative, I was like, I'm not enjoying this as much. And that's really where the transition came. But I think it's a phenomenal field to be in. My younger brother is still in that field and doing really well. So I'm like, I support and applaud creators. I just recognize for me, I just needed to transition to something that I think fulfill all parts of me and the kind of work I wanted to do in the world outside of just the creative aspect of me.
Right.
Yeah.
Hey man, yeah, I understand that because I do feel like views are nice and everything like that, but as you get older, it's like, okay, like what's next?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
when you said impact, I really use that a lot, when it comes to people now, when it comes to if somebody asks me like, what do you what are you looking to do, out of what you're doing? I'm like, hey, I'm wanting to create more of an impact, on the younger generation or just my community.
Yes.
So I feel like that is like the next level of where things need to go.
Yes. And what you're doing right now, I think even, I'm biasly talking about myself and my program, but I think even what you do as a creative in your podcast of kind of highlighting these different kind of stories and what people are doing outside of, I think if I was maybe doing more of that, I probably may have stayed in a little longer instead of just doing hired contract and making music videos. I feel like what you do with your podcast is just really cool to bring that creative element while elevating stories that are like important to your community. Like that's important. And we need more creatives. doing that kind of work. You know what I mean? Bringing their creative skill to talk about stories and impacting their communities. I think it would change how we feel about our communities. It would change our, how we feel about ourselves if we saw it more. So I applaud you, man, and what you're doing with this podcast and just with your career. Man, keep it up because we need more of you. I wish we could clone you. We need another. Talk about technology. We need another Carlos Carter to run another one.
Hey, you already know. You already know, man. But I do believe in not putting yourself in a box. And just evolving, continuing to evolve. Because like I said, I'm an artist, but I kind of saw like, okay. What's next after that? Because my brother, he basically was doing music for a while, just hip hop, and then I worked at Best Buy and was like, started learning about cameras, and was like, all right. So then I learned. So I end up, winning the little contest, got some gift cards, end up investing in my camera that I'm using to this day, and that was like 4 years ago, and the return that it has given me is crazy, so I just jumped from in front of the camera to behind the camera, like you said.
There you go.
And it's been working out big time.
That's beautiful, man. Listen, when I started with film, I was using a 7D, Canon 7D. I don't even know if people still using those. Yeah. That's how much. So it's like, and you get so much that first camera, you get so much out of those tools when you really know how to utilize them, man. So congrats on that, man. Like on the work you're doing, man. I think it's just needed, man. It's just phenomenal. So man, definitely keep that going, man.
Oh yeah, no worries at all. Shoot, don't plan on slowing down.
There you go.
A bit. So where do you see your company in the next 5 years?
Man, wow. I should definitely have a really good answer to this because we just had some road mapping conversations with our org. But yeah, man, I think for us this year it's really, really cool. So we're expanding our program into South Carolina this year.
Okay.
We're working with all the HBCUs in a few specific cities in South Carolina. For us, we want to continue to take the model and expand it from state to state. Something else we also looked at is running different variations of our program. So while we have a Smart Cities, we're looking at doing a Smart Parks program. We're also looking at doing programs that are focused on specific skills around problem solving. So there are a few things that we're looking at from that standpoint. But for us, and for me, I think about just continuing to build our ecosystem of partners. As we expand in different states, we want to bring in more funders and actually support more fellows in the program and work with more universities. One thing that we talk about we want to do is even build a bridge between HBCUs and non-HBCUs as well for opportunities to work across and expand the network of HBCU fellows. So I think a few of those things are on the horizon for us. I think one of the main things, though, is just us continuing to cultivate entrepreneurship. I think this ecosystem that we're building around creating problem solvers in our communities can really be built out in a way that includes folks that are HBCU, alumni who can come and be a part of our program. You don't necessarily have to be a student. You can be an entrepreneur. I mean, I think about myself. I came to entrepreneurship really from, life, seeing people. You know what I mean? I wasn't, I wasn't an MBA. I was creative at that time when I was in college. But I know when I did really want to put on my entrepreneur hat, it would be great if I had something like the program I created to engage with. So that's something we've talked about and thinking about from a roadmap standpoint. But I think in 5 years, man, we'll be impacting just way more cities, way more products that are solving solutions, and even, I think, for us, views to go international with our program and actually serve countries even outside of the U.S. and outside of North America. So we have a few things on the horizon, man, we're excited about. I try not to say them all because then if you don't hit them, they can look back like, he said on camera, he was going to do this. But no, we're excited, though, just about the growth we've seen over the past 3 years and how we think that's going to continue over the next 5.
Oh, perfect. And you said the name of it was?
So the name of the org is Pathway Community Foundation. So you can look that up online, pathwayoz.com. Our flagship program that will be have a pitch competition April 25th is the HBCU Smart Cities program. So you can Google that. You'll see a whole bunch of content online about that. And again, my name's AyindeSimon, AYINDE. Simon, SIMON. You Google me, you'll see a whole bunch of stuff on the work we do, the cities we impact, and kind of the fellows we work with, and kind of what we're trying to do is we grow this over the next couple of years.
Nice. And how can anybody get in touch with you?
Yeah, please. You can email me directly, Ayinde, AYINDE, at pathwayoz.com. That's pathwayoz.com. Please reach out to me there if you got any questions, feedback. Always love hearing from people that may have researched our program and ways we can bring it to more areas. So if you just have questions about my journey or our org, I try to be an open book and not gatekeep at all. So if you ever have any questions, thoughts, ways I could actually help bring value to anything you're doing, please reach out to me, and don't hesitate.
There we go. And here's another episode of the Verified Podcast. Got AyindeSimon and Top Carter CL here. Make sure y'all like, subscribe at the bottom, and just and make sure y'all follow us, man. We got so much going on and much more to come. So make sure y'all take it easy, and we'll holler at you later.